Well, welcome back to the broadcast. Apologies for that slight delay, but we are on course. And joining me for a conversation that will help us unpack this that IEBC says is an opening for other interested parties to hold their own parallel tallying, sessions, as well as just looking at what is happening in the mountain, what is happening politically in the country. There is so much that we focus on, and I hope time would allow us to touch as much as possible. Is Dr. Barrack Muluka, Communications Advisor, who joins us virtually, as well as Zack Kinuthia, Member of Parliament candidate of Kigumo, that is constituency in Muranga County. You know, I'm tempted to say Kigumo Bendera.
Yeah. It's a good school.
For that. It's a good school, yeah.
In
You're
Kigumo
well?
Town.
Yes. Uko salama?
I am well.
Yes, good to have you.
Good to have you too. How was your weekend?
It was good, I thank God. Tumeskuma vizuri.
Thank you. Me too, I'm good. And looking forward to a vibrant week.
Yes.
Many activities.
That's exactly it. With politics, you expect it to be quite a beehive of activities,
Sure.
Without doubt. I'm told you people are not sleeping at all.
Not at all. I got into my house this morning at 1 a.m.
Are you kidding me?
Yes. Still campaigning. I wasn't drinking anything outside my house.
That's the safest thing to do, because I doubt you would make it here if you were drinking it.
Most certainly I would not have made it if
Yeah,
I
that's
was
true.
Spoiling myself. But we're trying to reach as many voters as possible, trying to do last-minute strategies, and also consolidating efforts to ensure that we convince the voter of our candidature as being the best to represent them in the next 5 years. In Parliament, in Presidency, and in county assemblies, and as well as executive officers like Governor. So this is the time for the aspirants who are now candidates by law to reach out to the people. So when you see us spending all out night going to the people, it will even get more and more. There are times I'll call and say, Linda, you know what? Tomorrow morning, I'm not making it. So forgive me. And I hope that day will not come.
And I hope that it doesn't come at all. Oh my God, now that we've given you that blessing, please let it not come. And speaking of which, before we get to Barrack as well, I'm told Dr. Masanga is on his way here, and we hope he gets here on time. Speaking of the rivalry that is being witnessed, because it's a talk of town today, first of all, when it comes to the key coalitions that we have on board, the Alliance Kenya Kwanza and One Kenya, as well as the other side, this is, Azimio One Kenya Alliance, So it's Kenya Kwanza and then Azimio One Kenya Alliance. And, the Right Honorable Raila Odinga humbly asks those ones that support him, and they sit in different parties to shelve their interest for the strong ones that would take up this challenge to make sure that they are accorded a win and proper representation in Parliament. That is one of the things that we seek to discuss this morning. Does it sit well with you? I mean, you are vying under NAC party. PNU, sorry. And PNU as well is a strong party within the Azimio One Kenya Alliance. Is it proper for them to say, take the ODM? And I know this might not affect you so much so because you're in central region, but it is affecting others that are in these regions that could be having, members of ODM as well as members of other parties that are strong therein.
Let me put it this way, that yes, there is merit in the presidential candidates on both coalitions asking for a consolidated vote for the Parliament. Because if you would remember, 2007, the man who won the president is not the man who won the Parliament.
Yes.
And therein lied the greatest struggle for governance. Because President Kibaki, and may God rest his soul in eternal peace, won the presidency with quite a margin. That time, you remember, it was a simple majority. I think he won with over 287,000 votes more than presidential candidate opponent Raila Amolo Odinga in 2007. But Raila's ODM took a sweep from the coast to the northeastern to the western to Nyanza. Raila's party took a sweep. So they had a convincing majority in Parliament when President Kibaki's party, PNU, which is the party I'm vying on this time, could not bolster beyond 40. But now this 40 out of 210 was somehow, you know, given a boost when Wiper Democratic Movement, that time was ODM Kenya.
Shifted, yes.
Yeah, shifted its base to support Kibaki.
Right.
And somehow stabilized the ship. But remember, it wasn't going to be an easy job until Kibaki and Raila Odinga greeted each other in a historic handshake of Grand Coalition government. So when Kibaki found that he was on the same side with his nemesis, it was easy to govern.
Okay.
And you remember those 5 years, from 2008 to 2013, Kenya experienced the greatest boost economic-wise, and peace. People lived in, of course, under a shadow of some bloodshed that had happened earlier. So yes, both candidates, Raila Amolo Odinga of Azimio and Kenya, and William Ruto of Kenya Kwanza, are right. If they must base their thinking on the past, they are right to ask for a consolidated vote, meaning one candidate to represent one constituency for their regions, if it is possible. Now, I must answer your question whether I sit pretty with such an alliance. The question goes to many people. If you wanted to have such an alliance work, it is important to have a foresight. This one should have come earlier, when parties were forwarding their candidates, not when IBC is now presenting candidates. When parties were nominating their candidates to the IBC as aspirants, that is when coalitions should have come together.
Right.
UDA and Farmers Party, for instance, in Murang'a, where two candidates have been presented for governor. The Farmers Party or UDA should have been prevailed not to give two candidates to IBC, which is independent. IBC does not care that you give us which candidate. No, as long as candidates are qualified and are worthy of clearance, IBC has no qualms at all. So Linda, when you say now you would want to zone out and have a candidate for one coalition, either coalition, I'm speaking of both coalitions.
Both coalitions, yes.
Both coalitions are suffering of the same fate. It should have been easier and more strategically a thinking of foresight had this coalition and their leader, and this is Raila Odinga and William Ruto, having come before the parties and saying no for our coalition. For instance, now, in my constituency, in Kigumo, where Azimio candidate has Azimio coalition has two candidates, it would have been easier and more sensible to say, you know what?
Let's settle for one.
Jubilee candidate will step down for PNU candidate, and therefore, as a coalition, Zack Kinuthia is going to be our candidate on the basis of his strength, on the basis of his likelihood of election for our candidate, because the incumbent, as is, may not win, is not going to win. Now we have a fresh new candidate who has what it takes to lead the people in parliament.
Zack, hold it right there. You know, this is interesting, and it would appear pretty easy if we're talking about parties that are not so strong. PNU is quite a strong party.
Yes.
You do not want to wish away its capability. We are also talking about an era of coalitions where every party that joins in this coalition would still want to have, want to have their space cemented. And the only way you have your space cemented is by making sure that you have numbers, and this case, numbers that are tangible, that numbers we can foresee in the sense that there can be proper representation at the level of parliament.
Yes.
I wish to engage Dr. Barrack, but I'm told we have to take a quick break, and Dr. Masanga, I see, is already in studio. So therefore we take that short break, and then we come back, expound some more on that.
Sure.
You got the memo.
Despite being visually impaired, he is a jack of all trades. It is our quest to find answers on how to take care of children with special needs and those with disability. You do not need to see musical notes to understand music, but rather to have your soul feel the vibe.
Actually, for us to make a wheelchair, we have to take measurements of the user.
After doing my assessment, I get to know the parent, I get to know the heaviness she's carrying.
Disability comes at different stages of life.
How well do you know what's happening around you? Morning Cafe with heated political debates. Baraza la Siasa.
Hiyo kitu azungumzie, angalie hali ya maisha ya watu.
Informative health discussions. Business, farming. Tasty Wednesday, Fitness Thursday, and Feel Good Friday with amazing DJs, celebs,
waimbaji, kuna comedians, alafu kuna wajinga,
and music bands every Monday to Friday from 6 a.m. to 9 a.m. The next set of millionaires are farmers, as we know agriculture has been and still is the backbone of our economy. As we traverse the different counties to meet different farmers, we ensure to get the story of how they started farming and even how they continue to penetrate the market and overcome the challenges.
Hapa, the reason why nilieka goose na si ducks. Goose, they are very easy to maintain.
A lot of farmers keep on calling, inquiring whether you're supposed to raise some seeds in the nursery or you're supposed to do them directly in the field.
The greenhouse helps us control the temperature because the temperature needs to be between 28 to 32 degrees.
Walk this journey with us every Sunday at 6:30 p.m. It's no secret, construction ain't cheap. But how do we make it affordable? Different individuals are finding ways of cutting down cost by use of pre-stressed slabs other than reinforced concrete, recycling plastics to make pavers.
The brick is stronger, it's cheaper, and it's lighter.
And recycling wastewater in your household.
What happens to my waste from the washroom, the solid waste? All that can break down.
Those are just but a few. Every Tuesday at 7:30 p.m. we talk construction.
There's no alpha without an omega. There's no lead without any followers. No man is an island. We need each other. We need this conference.
We say it, we do it, we act it.
Kama una mpenzi wako, kila siku kama walivyosema, kila siku maishi mapenzi.
We don't toe the line, we set the standard. We don't eat the grass, we lead the pack.
As an alpha male, you're also a leader. Not to just women, friends and family, but to everyone else you've never met before.
We are the beauty, the spice and the brains. The men's conference where men become alpha males.
And you can catch us every Wednesday at 10 p.m. This is The Grind. Only those who will risk going too far can possibly find out how far one can go. T.S. Eliot.
So I decided, let me just take this up, put the teaching on hold first. Let me try see where this can go.
I mean, the opportunities are a lot.
But is that all you need? Oh wait, there's more. This seems a little too much. Let's slow it down.
You do this is something you do out of passion.
Join me, Violet Njoki, as I navigate through the maze of the increasingly dynamic business environment and quiet down the noises. As I help you flourish in business.
Of getting, a majority at the level of the houses, Senate, as well as the National Assembly. We have seen, parliaments going, to levels where they make it hard for heads of state to manage the situation in their countries. Of course, France, at some point in time, I don't know whether it was Angela Merkel who was not able to run the activities in parliament, hung parliament for that matter. becomes, a problem. And this time, an era where we have so many independent candidates as well, we risk a situation where we're going to get a president who really does not have proper representation. We look at Wajakoya, whom you say is sure going to get number 3, but the rate at which he's coming, you can almost be sure that he could unturn things. But the question is, how best will he be positioned in the event that he gets this? Because then, does he have members of parliament that will be in the house to, help him, pushing the laws and all that? So as we speak about this, Dr. David Nyekorach Masanga, an era of coalitions, an era of negotiating on the table, and most of the leaders you've seen, they say that I have to join that coalition having a strong party, so I'm able to negotiate. So when it gets to a point where you're told shelve your interest, your ambition for purposes of this other party, how then do you stand in that coalition with the confidence that your voice is going to be heard?
First of all, thank you very much for inviting me. I'm sorry I came late.
No, it's fine.
But I'm still on time.
Yes.
A parliament where government has majority is the best way of performance. But where the government seeks help from other parties is a very dangerous situation. The Parliament of Uganda currently has got 120 independent MPs.
Wow. And
what Museveni did was to negotiate with them so that they don't go the opposition way, because if they had to go on opposition, then the opposition would have about 200 something MPs. So it is very critical that the people, Azimio people, I don't talk about any other group, I look at Azimio, should make sure that they get the people, the members, enough members of parliament who will pass their bills, who will negotiate, will talk about several things that are touching Kenyan security, economy, social life, politics, and so on. That's true.
All right.
Yes.
Okay. Raila, Jirongo says, Raila cannot tell me to abandon my party and focus on ODM. ODM should consign itself to Nyanza. We shall give time, or we shall give him that one vote, that is the presidential vote, but his people should stick to Nyanza. I don't need his help in my campaigns. He can't come to, I don't need his help in my campaigns. He can't come to our political kitchen. Let him respect us. I mean, how much of a difference is it when you have to step down for purposes of the other? Is it because you have to secure the votes? I mean, because after all, whether it's someone from a different party but they sit in this coalition, you still have proper representation in parliament. Why should there be a worry?
Exactly, and that is the reason we are saying this thing should have happened at party level.
Okay.
Instead of now having to speak about it at the election bodies level. By the way, as Daktari has rightly put it, the ideal way of governance for a prime minister or a president is having a majority party. But that is the ideal way. Ideal is not the real.
Right.
The first time President Emmanuel Macron of France was elected, he was elected independent without a member of parliament in the House of Legislation. But he has gone ahead to do what he has done to warrant a re-election again, that the French people believed in him once more and gave him a mandate of 5 more years.
Right.
So it is not going to be possible today and into the future, maybe the world of the 20th century, it was possible for a grandiose party to win election and go to the people today and into the future. Not in South Africa, not in Norway, not in the UK, not in America, not in Africa today. Nowhere are we going to have those mega parties winning election from president all the way to civic leaders. It's not going to be possible. The world is turning. People are increasingly becoming independent-minded, and they are increasingly also becoming inquisitive, that they can see through the euphoria of parties. Why do we have a coalition?
Right.
Why did we come into the coalition in 2008? Why did we come into a coalition in 2013? Why are we coming into a coalition now? Because no single party is going to sustain what cannot sustain, at the dawn of independence. And this tells you that people who want to rule and lead must consider that we are in a new era of coalition. And coalition is just a word. Coalition is unity. Unity of purposes. And these purposes, for this matter in siasa, is called parties. Okay. If UD, what is this party?
UDP.
If UDP has come to the table to join a bigger family called Azimio, and there is also ODM within Kakamega that is also going for governor, and then there is another party, maybe say DAPK, going for the governor. I think it is all in good faith for the presidential candidate of that coalition to steer clear of it, because all these are coming for him.
Yes.
Everybody is saying it is Linda. For us, we are happy under Linda. But after Linda, let us fight for ourselves. It is not asking for too much. Right. And I'm looking into this camera straight and saying, as a political analyst, a man who has been here for 15 years, politics, my senior has been here longer and has seen more. But for the few years I have been around, it is important to know what you are looking for. And for Raila Odinga, for instance, he must know that he is looking for president of Kenya. The rest are details. He should not be misled by mandarins under him who are greedy and who have scores to settle. Who want to say, tutakuondoa kwa kinyang'anyiro. For instance, they are telling Jirongo that they can get him out of the way to have the party of Raila win. If governor of Kakamega is going to be of UDP, how does that affect State House under Raila Odinga, President Raila Odinga? How does that affect him? I mean, if a UDP MP wins in Lugari constituency, for instance, and comes to the National Assembly, if Zack Kinuthia wins PNU and comes in the National Assembly, do you know our parties are going to die at the gate? Are you aware that our parties are going to die at the gate? Because inside Parliament, there is only one party called Azimio Coalition Party, and Neki Kenya Kwanza. Because for those who will win Kenya Kwanza, if somebody wins with Ford Kenya, they will come as a member of Ford Kenya. If somebody wins UDA, they will come to the parliament in the name of UDA. And therefore, they can somehow cause consternation within the parliament, saying our party leader, who is part of this coalition, has not sanctioned us to vote this way. But for coalition party Azimio, anybody winning and coming inside parliament cannot carry the flag of the individual party. Like for me, once I win under PNU is not going to be recognized in parliament. It is going to be Azimio party. So the people who created this form of politics, this new era of coalition party, were wise and people who had seen far. Those who are trying to prevail on presidential candidate Raila Amolo Odinga to zone out members of his party do not understand coalition party politics. Not party coalition. They do not understand coalition party politics. And they have no idea what this one came to heal. Because this thing came to heal. It was crafted by wise people. People who know things that those who are trying to force zoning out have no idea about. So I ask him, as a man whose gods seem to be shining their faces on as far as this election is concerned, I would ask him, as a friend of mine, as my father, I would ask Raila Odinga to shy away from being influenced by a cabal of thugs who want to influence the election inside parliament. Why are they so much interested in having their parties in parliament? They also wanted to hold him hostage.
But even before it gets to that level of the Right Honorable Raila Odinga asking or requesting for this, I don't know whether we can get a hold of Barrack. Dr. Barrack? Dr. I guess we're not lucky. We keep trying. Dr. Masanga, before it gets to the level of... Dr. Barrack? Looks like we're almost getting him. Doctor? Not just yet. All right, Dr. Masanga, before it gets to the level of the Right Honorable Raila Odinga, before it gets to the level of Deputy President William Ruto calling on these individuals, it is common sense that if we're talking Azimio at the level of Kakamega and we have all these ones that are interested coming together to support one, it will be much easier for them to carry the day. If they do not take that direction, then they split the vote. Why do they have to wait for the Right Honorable Raila Odinga to call upon them to do this so that they can start start pointing fingers and saying that he's interfering? Why not have a common ground and, you know, agree to give the stronger candidate so that they can be guaranteed of this win?
First of all, what do we want to get here? Forget about the rest of these things, that it's zoning, Raila is a seasoned politician. And Baba Raila, Amolo Odinga, wake up on this. The end result, me, I'm not interested about what Zack wants to get, which MP, which party. I'm interested in Raila Amolo Odinga.
And therefore this could cost him loyalty?
No, wait, what loyalty? Raila should think beyond. This is a political science school.
Okay.
Look, we are looking for the presidential win. If we don't get the presidential win, then we are nothing. I think so.
Yeah, that is it.
And if we are going to zone people, why do you zone them? Let them fight down there. Isn't it?
That is it.
That's why you formed what we call Azimio
La
Umoja na Kenya Kwanza, Kenya what?
One Kenya Alliance.
One Kenya Alliance. Alliance. So you have formed that. Why do you again go into this? Politically, we are having a mess. As he said, someone is misleading there. You are going to divide this. We don't want to divide anything now. Because our friends the other side are already waiting for our divisions. Divisions of Azimio to break to pieces. Look, every candidate, whether DUP, PNU, the first thing they are saying, give Baba the vote. And that is the messaging. You must message that. That is the messaging that should go there. We want a Baba, the presidential vote.
Yeah.
Then, first, let our voters go there in the box and say, Baba. Then now, look for Jirongo. Look for Zack. Look for Nyokabi. Look for Ephraim. Look for so many people.
Even for the independent ones.
I am coming to independent. What do you call what?
The independent.
There is no independent in Africa. Where is it?
So they're just
Show
like
me one.
us. Like deep down they have a preferred.
Let's tell the Kenyans the truth. We have not reached a level of calling ourselves independent. Africa has not reached that. Show me one country. Show me one country. Which one? Anybody who has studied political science.
You want to overlook all these governors. You want to overlook all these governors that are standing independent, that are vying independent.
Who is independent? You come to national TV and say, I am independent, but I support Mr. Chicken Sera. I call him Chicken Sera. I don't know the other name. William Ruto. That you will support William Ruto, but I'm independent.
So, Dr. Masanga, independence to you is that you could go for that particular seat and overlook all these other seats?
In terms of political science, do you know what independent candidate is? In Britain, an independent candidate is really independent.
So that means if you are going to vote for Senate, it's just Senate?
No, you needed to go and seduce him to vote for you. But ours in Kenya, Uganda, where there is no independent candidate here, they are seduced already. By the time we leave Kisumu, they have won the seat as independent, but they are already saying, when I reach parliament, I am with Baba.
In fact, most of them are independent after losing the primaries.
Yes, when I reach parliament, I am with Uhuru Kenyatta, which is independent. There's no independent here. Tell the people the truth. Independent candidates have not yet reached a level in Africa. It is not there. Show me one independent man who is independent. You are saying, who? The man whom you were waiting for to come here.
Yes.
Yesterday you saw what he said on TV.
Yes. On the gubernatorial debate.
Some of them are saying,
County.
I have no problem. I'm going to stand as independent, but I support Baba. So you are not independent.
Hold it right there.
No
Dr. Masanga, we're coming back
now
to that because we need to understand more what it takes for one to be, a clear independent candidate. Dr. Barrack, if you can hear me. Dr. Barrack. Hearing you. I think we're not so lucky with Dr. Barrack this morning. Daktari, if you can hear me.
I can
much
hear
better.
you loud and clear.
All right, much better. It's been quite a tussle getting a hold of you, but we're glad that you're here eventually. And we're talking about the scramble for Parliament, the need for that proper representation, the clarion call that some people should step aside or shelve their interest for purposes of making sure that they have proper representation, or for those ones that would be looked at as the strong candidates. What do you make of that? And especially in this time and age, where in a coalition you want to sit there, but you also want to have the power to bargain, and that automatically is brought on board by you having proper representation, or at least some essence of representation, as well as an era where we have lots of independent candidates. And Dr. Masanga says they really are not qualified to be called independent.
Thank you very much, Linda. I agree with Dr. Masanga that these people who are saying they are independent are actually not independent. They are trying to hang on to someone's coattails. They believe that this person is the rocket that is going to land in outer space. And they believe that if they hold on to this person's coattail, they will be able to get into the outer space, political outer space, with that person. If people wanted to be independent, the Constitution of Kenya recognizes that you can be independent, and that you can stand alone and persuade people with your message, with your agenda, and that you can get to that destination on your own. On the other hand, it also speaks of absence of any meaningful ideological coherence among the various political parties that are coming into these coalitions. Because if there was that kind of agenda in the first place, the question of the candidates would have been resolved a long time before they even got to the I think there is a big challenge there. Raila Odinga must now have reached a point where he thinks he's extremely popular, that he can win without these people. The acid test is there. We don't know whether he ultimately could actually win without these other people, because Raila Odinga and William Ruto are also like tortoises who went into outer space on borrowed feathers. And once you get there on borrowed feathers and borrowed wings, and you start telling the people that this is mine, you could also end up in a mess.
And therefore, this costs them the question of loyalty. In this case, Zack, automatically, that will be the biggest of fear. And while it looks like it's almost on the last laps or the last stages, evidently, any shake of these coalitions or any shake of these alliances will automatically cost these leaders, the vote.
That's the only fear. That, as he said, the ultimate price for William Ruto and Raila Odinga, the ultimate price for them is presidency. And to be president, it is now a matter of, and especially for Raila Odinga, who is not vying for the first time, and who, as I said, the gods seems to be conspiring to smile on his face.
Okay.
Okay? This is a time for him to forget everything else. Kikuyu people says that in their proverbs that, you know, when Maasai people used to raid them, they used to raid them and they would take away goats and cattle. These goats, some would be slaughtered as a form of sacrifice for them to eat and go back to their land. Now, they would not leave their heads with meat. But when you see them raiding and leaving the heads with meat, it means there is danger. And they would leave them even as meaty as they looked and go. But why would you leave such a meaty thing? This is a fable in Kikuyu to say, there comes a time in the lives of a man when you must decide what you want.
Okay.
And all the costs and implications attached to what you want must give way. This is important. And I'm saying this because Raila Amolo Odinga wanted to be president. He has tried many ways of becoming president. Some have come too close to call. This time, Raila will be good to disregard the people who disguise as friends, as allies, as advisors, and allow him to become president.
Okay.
So why would they bother Raila with what parliament there shall be? Raila is a statesman. He can work even with Kenya Kwanza elected MPs when he is president.
Hold it
He
right
will work
there.
with them.
And
yes.
Before you go to, I want to reinforce his point.
Yes.
Please, His Excellency, Right Honorable Prime Minister, look at my face. Political science, you don't do this type of thing. You carry water all the way from the well. You remember we used to go and carry water all the way from the well, very far, 5 kilometers. Some of us used to wake up very early, 4 a.m. to carry water in order to leave for mom to cook. If you haven't, you won't go to school. You carry carefully. And towards the compound, just about to put down the pot, it breaks. Your Excellency, don't do that. We have already come a long way. Kalonzo disturbed this, that. You saw me several times here begging Kalonzo, please don't. He listened to us. He had to go to London and the Queen had to send it River Thames. He drank, then he came back and agreed. So please, let's not destroy this at the entry point by bringing in politics that is going to confuse people back in where they are. Leave it. People are saying the first vote as you enter the polling station, vote number 1, Raila Odinga. The rest, then you can now scratch your head. But we don't want people to start scratching the head even before putting the vote there. Please, leave this whoever is doing this, advising this, must have not gone in school for political science, but looked at the windows of the schools.
Interesting times. Dr. Barrack, on that very note, and speaking of Kenya Kwanza leader, that is Deputy President William Ruto, especially, when we focus on the gamer community, on the gamer side. And I mean, we have seen a trouble brewing at this very level. And therefore, just by taking him as an example, can these two gentlemen comfortably, focus on the presidency and overlook everything else that is happening on these other quarters of governance, or these quarters of leadership, when we're talking about the 6 Ps and all that, overlook the other 5 and focus on the presidency? Politically speaking, how safe would they be?
They have got to learn to cross one bridge at a time. While I have agreed on this issue of absence of independence, one must also take note that we have got 2 leaders here who are thinking that they have already crossed the first bridge and that they are already in power, and imagining themselves in power, they are starting to think about how they are going to control and manage their politics of the day. And therefore, they are saying to themselves that I need the MPs. They're looking at the ending dispensation when President Uhuru Kenyatta has been whipping Parliament. The members, I need the numbers in Parliament, and I don't want to be at the mercy of any of my core principles, and they are members of Parliament, and therefore I must have it my way. With regard to the governors, I had Zack Kinuthia wondering aloud why it would be a matter of concern for the president. Of course, you need to control the council of governors, and the more governors you have in the council, the better for you, so that the intergovernmental relationship slant towards your will all the time. And so you have two gentlemen here who are starting to imagine that they have already sallied across the bridge, and that they want to begin exhibiting a little bit too early what should be waiting the moment when they have crossed the Rubicon, and that people like Zack, if they have been elected on different tickets, they could be wooed over, and they could be told that you are going to do what we want because you are a member of this coalition. So if they do not watch out, they are going to cause disaffection in areas where they are relying on other people. I've used the example of the tortoise. It's a familiar African fable about birds which were flying to a party somewhere in the skies, and tortoise wanted to go with them, and tortoise could not fly, so they had to each pluck a feather and lend it to the tortoise. And once they got there, tortoise started behaving in a strange manner, and they got very annoyed as the birds, and each one of them took away their feather. And tortoise had to jump down to the ground where he broke his. So these two gentlemen should recognize that they are not just traveling on their own energy, they are traveling also on borrowed energy. And they must be very careful not to upset the spaces where that borrowed energy is coming from.
Well, thank you so much, Dr. Barrack. And I think on that very note, this one is left for the people to figure out how they will trod. They need to be careful. You have to take a short break, Doctor.
One small point.
Yeah.
You know, Ruto has done a tactical move. He left his order to parties.
Okay. His Kenya Kwanza.
That's what Raila should see quickly. Don't disrupt this Azimio again. Because your friend, you know, for him is smiling.
Yes.
Whichever party knocks, passes, they will collect and come. So leave, don't come in and say zoning. No.
You will mess it up.
Leave it. Let people fight that way. They are going to give you the vote. There are people going to bring your vote. But don't, again, come in to confuse right now. If you confuse right now, these guys, you know, members of parliament, when they reach there, even Zack, when he reaches there, you just give him a loan of 5 million shillings.
Dr. David.
Or 10.
And they swing to your side.
Yes, he will come. Uganda MPs, members of parliament, were given 200 million shillings for cars, and it was on account. Delivered. They woke up in the morning, everybody had the money.
And in support of
So what will you do?
Let's not remind ourselves of the MCAs and the car grants.
Yes.
Let's take a short break and come back with more.
Despite being visually impaired, he is a jack of all trades. It is our quest to find answers on how to take care of children with special needs and those with disability. You do not need to see musical notes to understand music, but rather to have your soul feel the vibe.
Actually, for us to make a wheelchair, we have to take measurements of the user.
After doing my assessment, I get to know the parent, I get to know the heaviness she's carrying.
Disability comes at different stages of life.
How well do you know what's happening around you? Morning Cafe with heated political debates. Baraza la Siasa.
Hiyo kitu azungumzie, angalie hali ya maisha ya watu.
Informative health discussions. Business, farming. Tasty Wednesday, Fitness Thursday, and Feel Good Friday with amazing DJs, celebs,
waimbaji, kuna comedians, alafu kuna wajinga,
and music bands every Monday to Friday from 6 a.m. to 9 a.m. The next set of millionaires are farmers. As we know, agriculture has been and still is the backbone of our economy. As we traverse the different counties to meet different farmers, we ensure to get the story of how they started farming and even how they continue to penetrate the market and overcome the challenges.
Hapa, the reason why nilieka goose na si ducks. Goose, they are very easy to maintain.
A lot of farmers keep on calling, inquiring whether you're supposed to raise some seeds in the nursery or you're supposed to do them directly in the field.
The greenhouse helps us control the temperature because the temperature needs to be between 28 to 32 degrees.
Walk this journey with us every Sunday at 6:30 p.m. It's no secret, construction ain't cheap. But how do we make it affordable? Different individuals are finding ways of cutting down cost by use of pre-stressed slabs other than reinforced concrete, recycling plastics to make pavers,
and my friend from Emmanuel.
and recycling
This guy,
wastewater
if I were a
in your
Kenyan,
household.
I would have
What
gone to
happens
the
to
Supreme
my
Court
waste from the
tied
washroom,
myself
the
at the
solid
door
waste, all that can
and
break down.
put my petition in my English saying the man who should never handle your vote, your ballot in this country is Wafula Chebukati. Wafula Chebukati is not prepared
There's no alpha
for
without
this
an omega.
election.
There's no lead without
He's
any
not.
followers.
You know,
no man.
how do you allow a mess that
We
the
need
media,
each other.
Bonoko,
We
there's
need
one word you Kenyans use
say it.
Bonoko. What is
We
Bonoko
do
in
it.
Kenya? I
Like
don't
faith,
act it.
yes.
Kama una mpenzi wako.
You know what? People are going to announce this thing. And
We
that
don't
is
toe the
the
line.
mess.
We set the
That's
standard.
the mess. You have
We
created
don't
a mess.
eat the grass. We
What
lead
media?
the pack.
With this social media, people are going
also
to results here,
not
which
just
are going to bring
women,
violence
friends,
on the
family,
ground.
but to everyone else.
And
who never
by the time you come and say,
We are
the
the
electoral
beauty,
commission
the
have
spice,
done this,
and
I
the
said
brains.
no.
The men's
Chebukati
conference,
is doing
men
exactly what the chairman of the electoral
And you can
commission of
catch us
Uganda
every
did.
Wednesday at 10 p.m.
He announced he did the results that were coming from everywhere. He allowed the people to collect everybody
This
to have a tally.
is the grind.
And then when they came, he said, no, those are not my results. Those are
Only
not
those
our
who will
results.
risk
So
going too far can possibly
people will
find
start
out how
fighting
far one
even
can go.
before the final tally
TSN.
comes.
So I decided, let
am
me
not
just
happy
take this up,
with the media
put the teaching on hold
and the
first.
media
Let me try see where
editors
this
who
can
went
go.
to Kwale.
I mean, the opportunities are
Maybe they
a
just
lot.
wanted to meet
But is that
some
all
of
you
the
need?
candidates,
Oh,
bump
wait,
into them
there's
because
more.
the candidates were also in Kwale. We know what was
This
happening.
seems a little
And
too
you
much.
see, Chebukati
Let's
also
slow
wanted a
down.
retweet in Mombasa. Anyway, we are aware of what they were trying
Join
to
me,
do in one
Violet
of those
Njaki,
hotels.
as I
But
navigate
let
through
me
the maze
tell
of
you
the
frankly,
increasingly dynamic
if I were
business
Kenya,
environment and quiet
Mr.
down
Chebukati
the
has
noise.
missed this election
As I
so
help you
much
flourish in business
that there
every
is no
Monday
even
at 7:30 p.m.
what do you call it, Zack, in your language? Sweetness. When salt becomes saltless by the Bible, this election has become saltless.
No secret, construction
You
ain't
see people
cheap.
very excited
about it.
He has caused,
But
he
how do we
himself
make
is
it
causing a lot
affordable?
of
Different
voter apathy.
individuals are
He
finding
started
ways
with
of cutting
that he
down
can
cost
verify
by
no
use
degree,
of
bring
pre-stressed
degree,
slabs other than
go this way,
reinforced
bring
concrete,
that. All
recycling
this
plastics to
confusion
make
adds up
pavers,
The
to
brick
a
is
nullified
stronger,
election.
it's
Believe
cheaper,
me
right?
or not,
and recycling
Kenyans are going to
wastewater
spend
in your
40,000,
household.
40
What happens
billion to 50
my
billion
waste from the
on this election.
from the washroom,
Only
the
for a
solid
stroke
waste,
of a pen
all that can break
by
down.
Justice
Those
Wiru.
are just but
She's
a few.
waiting
Every
again.
Well, God
Tuesday
forbid.
at
And
She,
Dr.
no,
Masanga.
she's waiting because last
for
time
construction.
she asked you where you put the ballot papers that were spoiled. Nobody answered the question. Is that question answered
Despite
today?
being
Where is
visually
the ballot?
impaired,
Have we
he
got
is
free
a
ballot
jack of all trades. It
boxes?
is our quest
Where are they?
to find answers.
Do we still
and
have
how
the
to
ballot
take care
boxes of those
children with
where you
special
put
needs
all the
and
votes?
those with
Where is the
disability?
second vote for the spoiled ballot?
Good question.
The Supreme Court ordered
You
for
do
that.
not need
That one is
to
not
see
there.
musical
So
notes to
this
understand
is
music,
like you are
but
causing more
rather
confusion.
to
You are
have your
creating
soul
more
feel
violence.
the vibe.
Everybody, Mr. Itumbi is going to have his station running. The senior intelligence officer of Mr. Ruto. We have one already. And
So
the
for
people
us
in,
to make a wheelchair,
in the
we
Sugoi
have to
or Rift
take
Valley or
measurements
anywhere where
of the
Ruto
user.
has
Doing my
support,
assessment,
we'll start celebrating.
I get to know the parent.
Another one
I
will
get
say,
to know the
Raila has
the
one.
heaviness she's carrying.
What it is a
Disability
total
comes at
confusion.
different stages
Why don't you?
of life.
You see, there was a problem here as I finished. All agencies in Kenya wanted to sit down with Chebukati to understand his problems. He was told, don't sit with them.
Interesting.
Don't
I'll play
sit
the
with
devil's
them.
advocate, Dr.
You
Masanga,
remember?
and say that this members of the press will always have a chance to meet these leaders. We meet the likes of Zack thanks to the nature of job. And so we cannot get excited of that.
No, we can't. But,
and the retreats.
when they meet you, they call you in the hotel at night.
That.
No,
Well,
they
that
call
we
you.
shall.
Why are you being called? You are a media. You call me at night in a hotel to do what? Why are you meeting our editors in a hotel?
All right.
Why do you call them in a hotel? What
and perhaps
what is going on
we will
here?
task Barrack to respond to that as a communication expert. But to you, Zack, that IBC has laid the ground open. Well, they perhaps tried to lock the media out. They said, you know, they used to say, like, what is the distance until you get to the tallying station and all that. And it never worked, you know, in favor of us being accorded a free and fair process. This time around, taking this a step, would it be a plus or chaos?
It depends.
Yes.
And it depends on two factors. First, let me say that my senior colleague here has the right to, his opinion on IBC, but where I sit as a candidate and having been able to peruse the capability of the Independent and the Electoral Boundary Commission, I am satisfied that they can pull, and indeed they will pull, a credible, free, verifiable election. And I'm looking forward to seeing them declare the presidential candidate, governors, all the way to declaring me the member of parliament elect for Kigumo constituency.
Right.
Secondly, let me answer and say, I hope, Linda, and here I have to appeal for ignorance. I do not know whether they released the guidelines, and I'm not sure that I have seen them. But I hope, in the best of interest, that IBC has released guidelines on what they mean by saying it is an all-system go for media to cover election at the polling station. I really would want, before I comment, I would want to comment from the point of strength of knowledge, whether what they have presented as guideline is worth it. And this is what I would say. Having not seen or interacted with such a document, I would go, that's why I answered your question that it depends.
It depends,
because
yeah.
if they are guidelines, then they are out there for interrogation by the members of public and by public commentators who have extensive knowledge on these matters, like Dr. Barrack Muluka and my colleague here, Dr. Masanga. This is important for democracy because democracy thrives where there is transparency. This is why people jump parties, abandon parties altogether, because they do not feel that the parties they want to represent them, the people with, have transparency in determining the most popular leader. And what is popular cannot be determined in the shades, must be determined in the light. So, for election results to be transmitted from polling station X to the National Tallying Center, the media that has the capability of casting that vote at that PO, polling office, I think that must be heralded as the most revolutionary democracy step in the history of this country.
All right.
If it will be managed by guidelines, okay? Dr. Adi, because there are media houses that have made tallying centers.
Yes.
This is not what they said. I think IBC is saying coalition and presidential candidates have the go-ahead to make their polling rather they are media casting stations. I think it must be encouraged if there are better guidelines.
Okay.
If not, imagine a situation where one coalition wakes up in the morning and say in Emanyuria primary school polling station, presidential candidate X got 500, Y got 1,000. Now, then they cast that where X got 500, they cast 5,000. Where Y got 1,000, they cast 100. That would be a serious jeopardy for our election. So my answer to you of whether this is good, I would say it depends. I really would want to interrogate why they came to that conclusion and how that one is going to be maintained without injuring the integrity of the
process. Okay, Dr. Masanga will come back to you. But yes, the very same media that I know is being let on the ground, in this case, Dr. Masanga, has been faulted for, reporting on the matters of election and on different individuals with bias, yeah?
Yes.
That could be subconsciously, I would want to imagine. But then again, in the event that it wasn't, how do you trust them with the tallying process? And aside from the media, all these that are interested parties, which we really do not know to what level then they would be, because we have numerous parties, and therefore you'd probably find that Kenya Kwanza, Azimio la Umoja, David Maure's party as well, Agano, will also find Roots Party. They would all want to have their representatives and, probably pulling the tallying processes. What would that mean for the nation? A step towards the right direction, recipe to disaster? Dr. Barrack?
Sorry, I thought Mama Tanga was filling the question. I think we need transparency. And I agree with Zack Kinuthia that there must be regulations and guidelines, and I haven't seen them in this particular case. In the past, we have known that there were regulations. Media were supposed to gather the information, to share it without declaring winners, because that is not their responsibility. They can say tentatively, according to our tallying, this is what things are looking like. But we also need guidelines, because we are aware that there are media houses in the country which have already taken positions. They have certain candidates whom they are supporting, based on who the owners of those media houses are. They are giving them free advertising. They are giving them disproportionate length of time. Whenever they cover the other side, they slant the coverage to the extent that they emphasize what is dysfunctional in the other side. They show what is going wrong without trying to do the same for the side that they are supporting. And that kind of media house cannot be trusted to present even a proper account of what is happening at the polling station. But that said and done, it's a move in the right direction. Constitutionally, Kenyans are supposed to know what is happening. They have a right to the information, a right to knowledge, and therefore, IBC is to be commended for this step. One just hopes that it gets properly managed.
All right, as you come in, and a reminder that IBC then meets the presidential candidates. What to expect is one thing that would probably be very, very important, and they come still with papers of their irreducible minimums, things that they would wish to see addressed.
Linda Emanyula man, Dr. Barrack, with due respect and Kinuthia. We Africans copy everything, and they copy it wrongly. Somebody has sat down somewhere and seen how CNN does and said, let's do like a CNN, which is very dangerous. CNN does predictions, but CNN does not, and CNN does not go again deep, like the way I've already, for Zack hasn't seen the regulation. I've seen the regulations from what Chebukati is saying. It's a free for all, free fall. Even in Masanga, I will go somewhere here in Kempiski Hotel, hire one room, and a tally. If I have the money, I can tally my results, and I come with them, and I go to the social media, and I say, for example, for me, I will say, Raila Amolo Odinga has won.
But
Now,
they say
wait,
they say that the announcement will probably be left for the IEBC.
Have you seen the confusion you are causing?
Okay.
If social media here, Korea, has got about 50,000 dead men accounts, he will say dead accounts, 50 Chinese dead. You know those pseudo accounts of Korea? You see, you put there one thing that within 1 second, there are 50 people have said yes, 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 yes. Those accounts, they will confuse people, they will bring insecurity here, they will bring even violence. 2, which media house in Kenya, show me one that has got capability to man 46,000 polling stations? Answer me, and I go home. Which one? Which
Linda
one? No,
Alela.
wait first. There is
Barrack,
no
you
media.
I'll allow you time to come.
First of all, even the candidates themselves in Manula, they don't have even enough agents. What about the media? Which media house?
Perhaps they would just focus on the presidential
I buy the
board.
argument.
Okay, well, it's 46
I buy
again,
the
yes.
argument, perhaps. I buy the argument of Emmanuel when he said, we need transparency. But what type of transparency will you get when you have everybody, including Emmanuel
I
and
think
myself?
that point is made. That point is made.
Yes,
we
proceed,
have,
Dr. Barrack.
yeah, we have had the learned doctor. I think, first of all, let us accept that as Africans, we are not the children of a lesser God. And it is self-denigrating saying we Africans. Therefore, we must be completely unfortunate and very sad. We must strive for the best in the world. Secondly, we need to remind ourselves that in the botched up elections of 2007, the first thing that the media blackout. And during that media blackout, which was imposed by Mr. John Michuki, who was for the time being the Minister for Interior, a lot of terrible things happened. And in the process, Kenyans began going for each other's throats, for each other's property, for each other's blood. Let us keep on making the correct steps in the right direction. And let us not be shy of improving, and let us refrain from thinking that as Africans, we are the children.
All right. Well, the KZN, they say constant improvements. Japanese.
Let me correct one version.
Yes.
I am not saying we are very bad people.
Yeah.
But I'm saying we tend to copy things and then copy them wrongly. Because everybody copies in this world. You take for Chinese, except what we cannot copy is how they look like. But some people are learning Chinese who are driving those trains. But the problem I have is this. The media houses might not be able to send agents, journalists, to go to all those polling stations.
But that's the reason why they say it's open, and therefore, if you feel you do not have the capability, then you.
But
keep
are you people not seeing the element of confusion?
Well,
I am
possibilities
more worried.
are there.
Zack, I don't have a problem, but I'm more worried about the sparking of violence. Emmanuel talks of violence that of 2007. It is the media again that came up with those figures. You remember in 2007, I was here. Sky News was running with some figures. I was in Intercontinental Hotel when we were reporting figures that were supposed to say this one, until now a final figure came from Tarak Nifi? Yes, that final figure floored Mr. Baba. Baba was gone, but the media had already said Baba was up. up. Yet it was a strategy by the PNU government. Was it PNU government to wait until Baba releases all his bullets? So this time Baba has got good heads on his side, like ourselves, who have ever had ways of managing elections. We shall not tell him to announce his results quickly. You know, the 2007 elections was won that way.
Yeah.
And the media came up and told us Baba was winning.
Taking the lead.
And then later on, from nowhere, at the blue, Mr. Kibaki arrived with Tareka Niti. Vote. He won. Before we could even say anything, the swearing in at night, I remember we were told to carry the camera quickly around to State House. I was there taking the swearing in ceremony. So look, the media can be very useful. It is up to you people, but it could also be destructive because our media, as you have said, partly is biased.
And it could be worse with the political parties' agents because with the emotions and all that, you definitely are wishing to get numbers that favor your candidate. And so in this case, you can imagine the temperatures that would be there, but we cross fingers and we hope that indeed they set guidelines that would be proper to man this, but we can only wait. The presidential candidates get to meet the IBC. I don't know whether they'll meet them, you know, all of them, but we hope so much will be addresses pertaining to
just
that.
Before you leave that space, because I can see you are migrating.
Yes.
Dr. Masanga makes very unfortunate confessions. First of all, the fact that a president is elected or purportedly elected and is sworn in at the crack of twilight in a rather panicky kind of environment is very unfortunate for democracy. Secondly, Tharaka Nithi was one station where I think at that time it was a district or something like that. It was one district that returned votes where 120% of the registered voters turned out to vote, and they all voted for President Kibaki. These are unfortunate things which should not be rubbed in our faces. We are talking about very serious issues here. We are talking about transparency, and this country needs that transparency. Let us not trivialize these things.
It's not a trivial thing. I've just said, Mr.
Reported on what played out then.
Yeah, you see, Emmanuel and I are going to sit together.
Yes.
Emmanuel and I will be somewhere. After he has voted, he will come. I know we have arranged. We shall sit somewhere together because he usually comes to where we are with PLO. We want to see what is going on. So we shall meet. But I will ask you that I told you, the media should have their role. We as the media, any journalist was trained not to be a tallying officer of any election. We are told to come and analyze, not to tally. I am sorry. I have never seen a media man in a school being told that go and tally elections of Labour Party or Conservative. We are told to critically say.
You will want to counter that.
Yes, we have not. I don't know, maybe Barrack teaches journalists. He has told
at an advanced level.
At an advanced level, you have told them to tally votes. Media is supposed to critically analyze issues.
Taught them how to.
Yes, Dr. Barrack. As we sum up on this.
Yes.
In
there's nothing wrong. I've said. I am only saying Barrack.
Allow him to.
No, nothing wrong. You have said. Don't feel persecuted.
You always persecute me. But today I'm not ready
in the
to
kind
have
of journalism that I teach.
Yes, you have
taught. I've been listening to you, my brother. Why don't you listen to me?
Yes.
I've been listening to this gentleman. Can he be of good comportment and also listen to
Proceed,
me?
Dr. Barrack.
Yeah, in the
kind
of journalism that I teach, we do specialized journalism. We teach people how to handle figures. We teach them how to handle elections. We teach them how to handle economics, how to handle finance, how to handle law. You cannot really sit here and tell the world that we have not trained journalists how to handle elections, how to tally figures how to put 1 and 1 together and say these are 2, 2 and 2 together. We teach them all these things. We teach them about the integrity of the information that they are going to be putting across, the sensitivity of all this. And that's why they are called the fourth estate. Let us acknowledge that this is a step in the right direction. But as Zack Kinuthia, correct guidelines that can be followed. And let us accept, as I said earlier on, and emphatically so, that as Africans, we should refrain from thinking that we are the children of a lesser.
Fair enough, gentlemen.
God.
Mr. Director, do we take a short break or we proceed? All right, let's proceed. There's one subject that is on the papers this morning before we talk about the cost of living that many argue we have not seen so much of this, during the campaigns. And if we have, it's about pointing fingers and not addressing the matter at hand. Hague 2, as Gisheru hearings and ICC struggles to nail Ruto. Dr. Masanga, I bring this because of you, and we know very well that you have been instrumental in this conversation of the ICC. Today, the focus is shifted to the prosecution at the International Criminal Court that is in The Hague as it closes the case that could determine the fate of Deputy President William Ruto, who has been mentioned adversely in hearings as the beneficiary of a bribery scheme to scuttle this case. We are not, we don't have the capability to expound much on what is likely to play out. But then again, we are not locked out from probably just presenting our very own submissions as pertaining to the same. Zack, we start with you. What do you make of this? And it's a case that has been ongoing for the longest of time. We have seen Deputy President William Ruto, President Uhuru Kenyatta, coming to the people of Kenya asking for votes at a time when this conversation was quite heated. Any cause for alarm?
Sure enough. Let me say, and on that very, very, very philosophical standing, I would want to join my colleague and my friend, Dr. Barrack Muluka, in his Manyulia cabin by asking Dr. Masanga, as a Pan-Africanist, to join our school of thinking, which is increasingly evolving, to the extent that we must refrain from stashing on an African all the weak points of standing. People who claim, from international standing, and I get sometimes offended when I leave the country to find people saying, you Africans are this and this. You Africans, there is nothing like, there is no nationality called you African.
Right.
When you see people saying you African, first of all, they are attacking your integrity. They are demeaning your standing as a human. They still are in the relic of the black skin is to be hated, and that there's nothing good. And at the dawn of 20th century, there are people who believed that Africans had no soul, that it is not possible for these black people to have a soul, until it was proved by Church of Mission Society or something, CMS, that indeed Africans had soul, and they could converse with God as much as the white man conversed with his. So it is important going forward. And I'm a staunch Pan-Africanist who believe that we must not be told that you Africans do this and this. And this is for out there now. People who come and say, you Africans do not know how to do this. You Africans are not this. You Africans are... No. We are people. Say, Zack, you are not patient. Don't say Africans, you are not... Okay? Say, Zack, you like copying things. Instead of saying Africa, because we are struggling from 800 years of indignified enslavement from all the races of the world. And Africa now is coming up to claim his stage in Africa. So I know he's the chair of Pan-African Forum, and this perhaps we may be quoting him out of context, but this is for the record.
We, including myself.
Which is wrong. Because,
which is very wrong.
No, which is what I'm condemning.
We make mistakes.
No, not you. I'm not talking about you as a person. But this we African thing, I think we must also make it escape. And this is why 2013, Kenyan people rallied behind President Uhuru Kenyatta and William Samoei Ruto and Henry Kosgei and Joshua Sang, the Ocampo Six. Rallied behind them, not because there was no merit in the cases. Definitely there was merit in some of the candidates in Hague for these cases, and this is why you have asked me the question. But there was this question. Surely, must we wait for the imperial white men to come and dictate our issues? Don't we have systems of checking our way of justice? We must reject that. And that is why, you know, this case is collapsed. But to answer your question now, let me tell you, Linda, without delving into this matter more, this man, I have no, I do not stand in the ground to speak about Hague because he's more into them and he understands them better, having been to, I've not been to Netherlands. He has been there. I did not interrogate the files, he interrogated them. I did not even know who are the other 14. He knew them, you know, the Ocampo 20, but the Waki 20, but the Ocampo 6, the one that we had the privilege to know as a country, are people who have gone through the system of prosecution, they were being prosecution interrogations, and whatever happened, happened. But one thing I know is that the wheels of justice grind slow, but surely. The people who committed mass murders, population transfer, gang raping, forceful evictions, and all these things that Hague interrogated for us, they may escape constitutional law, but natural law,
they cannot.
They will never.
Right. Dr. Masanga.
First of all, I would like to correct the notion that I said Africa. I said we.
In the best interest of time.
I should have said, I withdraw that word African and say some of us at times.
Right.
Because I did J.A. Bright, not Ogundipe. I and Barrack, we did J.A. Bright. Our exams used to come from Oxford, Canterbury, and Cambridge. And let's tell the people the truth. My certificate has not got any Uganda school certificate of education. My certificate has got East African Certificate of Education, in conjunction with Cambridge University. If you don't have that under there, you can't get a job.
We're making African curriculums better.
Let me come to the point.
Linda and I are Africans.
Yes, and we're making it better by the day, right? Constant improvement.
You did Ogundipe.
You cannot accept
and
that. We're just saying that we're moving from
that is it. That is it.
Emmanuel and myself, we did not do Ogundipe.
But we're here
we did a Muzungu called J.A. Bright.
But we are here, Dr. Masanga.
Yes, and Shakespeare, by the way. So let's come this is a very, very bad day today for the people of Kenya and the people of the world, because the prosecution is going to lay its case some good 2 hours. It will lay its case stating how Mr. Paul Gicheru bribed witnesses, intimidated, bribed, contacted under Article 70 of the Rome Statute, that tampering with a witness, that article says anything wrong against the administration of justice in the court, you are not attacking the Rome Statute, you are now attacking Martha Koome. You are attacking the court. Anybody tampering with a witness attacks Lady Martha Koome's court. You are breaking the windows of Milimani court. You are not, forget about the main case. And let me make it clear to Kenyans, it is not the case of William Ruto and Sang coming. No, that case is separate. It might not open today, it might not open tomorrow. But it is a case where Paul Gicheru broke the windows of the court, let me say literally, and started interfering with what the court had protected under protection order. So the protection order was there, the witnesses were protected, but you contacted them. Even if you don't exchange the money, you contacted them. If you contacted them and they can prove, that's 5 years. Bemba case is very clear. Bemba's lawyer, with Bemba himself, they served the same sentence in the same jail because it was proved that the lawyer went and contacted the witnesses. So contact, tampering, money, they all form. One of them, if it appears somewhere, the judge will not review. That's point number one. Point number two, The case is a narrative. The people who did not know what was happening in the Rift Valley, in everywhere, in Naivasha, in Eldoret, in where, are going to know today. Because the man is coming up to say, that witness told us this, that witness told us this, and this is the summary, and that therefore the prosecution will end up by saying, I want to ask judge, the single judge, don't let this guy go away. Plus others, because there are several others who have been mentioned like 700 times. I've been counting. When the case was taking place, I was counting 700 times. If you have been mentioned adversely in this, there is no judge in the world who will be so naive not to say, let me see Masanga's face. How does it look like? That's most likely. But today's case, it has nothing, one, to do with the main case of Arap Sang, but witnesses, the case of His Excellency Dr. William Ruto was vacated. Why? Witnesses were tampered with. The case of His Excellency President Uhuru Muigai Kenyatta was abandoned because there was no evidence. Okay. Let's get to those two things very clear. Very clear. The Uhuru Kenyatta case, there was no evidence. The Ruto case, witnesses were there. But Mr. Paul Kijeru allegedly
tampered with
Mr. Baraza, allegedly. There's another one. There's another third one whom they are looking for. Allegedly touched, contacted these witnesses. I want to tell you exactly that is why they came for me. I'm here, living example. In 2012, Ocampo took me, arrested me for 3 days in the Fairview Hotel that I had tampered with witness OTP number 4. So we went down. I asked one question, and look at my eyes. I asked one question. Can you produce me a court order? No, court order.
Okay, well, for it.
If Kabutu, if OTP number 4 is dead now, we can mention him. OTP number 4 has a court order. Show me. OTP number 4 was on Facebook, was on Twitter. So I found him on Twitter, relaxing. We relaxed on Twitter.
Okay, so you were
and
saying on the basis of that.
3 days I was under detention in the Fairview Hotel. Until Kibaki said, why are you hiding this boy? So I am saying, this is not a simple Article 70. It's not a joke. It could bring a lot of ramifications here.
God forbid, let's wait and see.
If they mention people, warrants, and the people are forgetting this. Warrants of arrest is different from summons.
Dr. Masanga, let's not dig deep into this jurisprudence because we await the case, which is today, and therefore we'll be following keenly.
But I hope I've made clarification.
Oh, you have made
it is not Ruto's case opening.
Yes.
No. It is a case where Mr. Gicheru broke the windows of Justice Martha Koome and took some files.
Fair enough. Dr. Barrack, you wish to close for us on this one because I'm told we cannot get into the other subject, and I ask for, or I make my apologies for that. It's in the best interest of time. Dr. Barrack. Dr. Barrack? Dr. can you hear us?
Thank you very much. By and large, I agree with the thrust of what Dr. Masanga has said, although he is conservative with the truth. These things, when one clearly has taken sides, it's always difficult for objectivity to obtain all the way. President Uhuru Kenyatta and his deputy William Ruto remain the subjects of ICC, the property of the ICC, because those cases were never terminated. And in the future, they could be reopened. to historical. They have got to do with the fact that the government of Kenya under President Mwai Kibaki and jointly President Uhuru Kenyatta and Dr. William Ruto failed or refused to cooperate with the court. They refused to provide information that was sought. And in recent times, we have also got to learn that witnesses were apparently tampered with. We have got Gisheru, who is before the court. We don't know what is going to be heard today. And if it is true that witnesses were tampered with in a context where the Kenya government was refusing to cooperate or failing to cooperate with the ICC, we do not know how far the dragnet could go. And I think it is safe for me and reasonable and decent that I just leave it there.
All right, and there we leave it.
There is something that I want to...
Dr. Masanga, it has to be 30 seconds.
Yes, 30 seconds. Three things might happen.
Right.
One, Gicheru will can contest and say, I'm not guilty. Two, Gicheru could say, I am guilty to save the court's time, entering a plea bargain, which could shorten the case, then the sentencing comes. Those are things that can happen. He can defend himself up to the end or do a plea bargain and say, following this, I really saw these guys, I'm not going to go further than that. Therefore, save the court and maybe save himself 40 years. You know, he has got 80 counts, which means each count runs for 5 years concurrently.
The jury is out. We will be waiting to see what plays out. Zack, to the people of Kigumo as we close.
Thank you. I know, Linda, we may not be able to delve into the topics of
cost of living and so much.
Cost of living, but I would want to straight on urge the Kenyan people from wherever corner they are watching us from to take a moment of solemn interior thinking and put into office leaders who care about their social welfare, leaders who will reduce the cost of their lives, and leaders who especially will see further beyond than their current situation. Because as I have seen American president does, he has asked his Congress to allow him to zero rate the gas so that the rising cost of fuel in the world, which is necessitated by many factors, can cushion American people. I have also seen governments in Germany and Finland asking their parliaments to ensure that they lower down the cooking oil and the taxes associated with the cost so that the people European people can find a way of saving their kitchen from the biting, rising cost. As I seek to represent my people in Kigumo, these are the issues at heart that are present. There are issues beyond this, which we wanted to legislate in Parliament, but I am promising Kenyan people through their brothers and sisters in Kigumo that as I join the 13th Parliament, it will be the most vibrant, and I will take part in addressing the issues of their concern in health, in education, and in every facet of their life that touches on their families and friends. Therefore, I ask them for support as I continue asking them to give me the votes. But it is not for free. I will go consult, meet them as I have been doing yesterday, other days, and this week, so that we can have a conversation that builds into the future. Your vote, Kigumo people, will be a vote for the Kenyan people, because I seek to represent you in the highest table where decisions are made for the nation.
Zack Kinuthia, Member of Parliament, candidate to Kigumo constituency. All the best, Mheshimiwa. All right, Dr. Masanga, 30 seconds.
Thank you very much. I just want to thank you very much, all of you, for having listened to us. But go into this election, Kenyans, that some of us 17 years ago, I knew about this ICC. I was the first candidate in a place where Ruto and Uhuru Kenyatta stood, because we went there on the Ugandan issue. Uganda was the first country to go to the ICC. That was 2005. That is how I knew ICC. So I would like to ask you, this time don't do violence. Please vote and keep quiet, wait for the outcome. But I am not very happy with Mr. Chebukati and his group, because surely they have done a lot of injustice to the people of Kenya. They have.
Well, let's give
I
them
have,
that benefit
I
of the
have
doubt,
never
Doctor.
seen an election like this, Linda. I've observed the election in 52 countries in the world since I was born 67 years ago. And I am sorry, this is one of the worst disorganized elections.
God forbid, we
and
might not agree with that.
Kinuthia to stand here, he is going to seek my advice when I'm going to represent him, when he is crying
Dr.
about...
Masanga, we cross fingers for the best.
Yes, I'm going to represent him when he cries about
He's going to win.
He's going to
Is he
win,
not
but
going
somebody will come to
counter
contest.
that.
Yes, so I
Dr.
will be
Masanga,
there
allow
for
us to
you.
close. Allow us to close. Doctor, allow us to close.
If such an unlikely event would ever appear in my face, I know we have been friends for long.
Yes.
So you can't let me down.
You would,
But
yeah?
on the contrary,
I can always put
him.
my hand.
You invite
for,
him to
and
celebrate the win.
I invite him to Parliament Cafe after I'm sworn in, to come and enjoy a good meal.
I've struggled with
Dr.
Kinuthia
Masanga,
for
Dr.
a long
Masanga,
time.
we have to close.
I've struggled
Dr.
with him.
David
I brought
Nyekorach
him. I am
Masanga.
happy to see him.
Thank you, Senior. Thank you so much. Yes, asanteni sana, gentlemen. Dr. David Nyekorach Masanga, Chair Pan-African Forum, as well as Dr.